What is oneness? Wow.
It's loud, I guess.
They can hear that downtown.
Go for it.
Imagine that you're the whole universe. Imagine that you live in joy and bliss. Imagine there is no past or future, only now. Imagine there is no space or time, just an unbounded eternity. Imagine endless peace, harmony, and unconditional love. Imagine no fear and equality in all things. This is oneness. Unfortunately, we can never imagine it fully. To understand or experience anything, we need to compare it to something else, which immediately brings us into duality. Oneness, by definition, is incomparable. So, is it ever possible to know oneness? Yes, but only by direct experience, when we go beyond the mind and the intellect and the ego. Oneness is the coming together of all opposites. It's always with us as the basis and underlying essence of everything. It's nothing in itself, but holds the potential for everything. We have to go beyond the senses and beyond duality to find oneness. We've all had random, unexpected glimpses of oneness at times. Perhaps you were watching a beautiful sunset and had that moment when you felt like you merged with the whole of creation. Or you saw your newborn child for the first time and fell in love with the whole world. We even have expressions for these glimpses. We say, "It took my breath away," or "time stood still." That's oneness. We become one with the totality of the experience. And when we return from the moment of oneness, we find it impossible to properly express what we felt. It just was. We can also have the direct experience of oneness through meditation, which provides a path by which our awareness settles to quieter levels of thinking until we finally transcend thought completely. All duality is in the realm of thoughts. So when we slip into spaces between our thoughts, we become oneness. Oneness isn't just experiencing something, it's a state of being. Deepak Chopra told us that every single thing is an aspect of one field of consciousness. The world never loses contact with its parts. They are never lost or forgotten, he also said. Modern quantum physics talks about a unified field which underlies and connects everything in creation. Who we are is pure consciousness of oneness, expressing itself in different forms at different times in our evolution. Pure consciousness is eternal and timeless. We are the separation or the duality. John Lennon simplified oneness as, "I am he as you are he, as you are me and we are all together." Isn't that great? Author Damian Mark Smith says, "We're one. We've always been one. We'll always be one until we think that we're not." And herein lies our challenge, beloveds, for we are one, but we think we're separate. We have forgotten our oneness. So as a result of forgetting, we create an illusionary world of duality which leads to our suffering. All disagreements and conflict and wars are due to the mistaken belief that we are separate. When we realize we are one, who or what is there to fight against? On a cosmic level, two people fighting each other is ridiculous as your hands deciding they didn't like each other and started fighting. Are we then doomed to a life of separation where oneness always remains an elusive dream? Not necessarily. We are one human family. If we can cultivate a concern for others, keeping in mind the oneness of humanity, we can build a more compassionate world. We need to promote the oneness of human beings on the basis of which there are no grounds for killing or exploiting others. All beings come from a mother's womb. Therefore, we should have a clear realization of the oneness of all humanity. We are all one. We are all blessed. Oneness is our inseparable bond. The greatest power in the universe is the power of unity of oneness. All other powers are secondary. And it is the only power that outlasts death. Our survival depends on the sense of oneness of humanity. What is important today is that we consciously cultivate a sense of oneness of humanity because we all depend on each other. Oneness is the absolute truth, and duality is an illusion. So the biggest aspect, I believe, of separation and duality is in our religions. We have 12 major religions and possibly numerous smaller ones. Even New Thought has different aspects, Science of Mind, Unity, Divine Science, as well as independent ones like here at Fellowship. But here, we celebrate the oneness of all religions and of all life. So after a request from some members here, I'm starting a series on the major religions, their similarities, their differences, their symbols, and the meaning of them, and their peace prayers. Every one of them has one. In the past, when we had the stained glass windows up here with religious logos, I gave 2 different talks on their meanings. But since then, we've had new people join us that may not know their meanings. And those that have been here for a while need to be refreshed. We thank Christine for the great job she did in drawing the logos, which you'll see when we get to the end of each section. And for those that came to me and said, would you please do a talk on this? So to begin, during the past thousands of years, the search of mankind's history and man's search for God or self has drawn them down many pathways. The result has been the enormous diversity of religious expression found worldwide. They range from the endless variety of Hinduism, the monotheism of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and the Oriental philosophies of Shinto, Taoism, and Confucianism. The prophets of all these religions have realized the same whole reality and truth, only the language differs. All of them preach reverence for truth and honesty, dignity, freedom, and human brotherhood. And yet, when we look at the world, it appears that much blood has been shed over time in the name of religion. In every religion, there are 3 elements that we'll explore: the philosophy or basic belief, mythology, and rituals. But a close study of all scriptures reveal that the basic philosophy or belief, such as faith in God or self, reverence for truth, honesty, and brotherly love, are common. The difference exists in their rituals and mythology. And this is due to the fact that the various religions developed in different times and places and within various cultural contexts. The basic principles never change as they come from the one mind of source through different teachers. Which means, beloveds, that Muhammad, Buddha, Jesus, and the others came here to teach the same lesson of love. That's what's important to follow. At the invitation of John Paul II, the religious leaders of the world assembled for the first time in history to pray for peace on earth. The sacred office of peace is comprised of these prayers that were handed down on the Day of Prayer for the World on October the 28th, 1986, which was the United States International Year of Peace. So not only do we have the major religions, they have similarities in their beliefs, but each one has their prayer of peace. I belong to a group where every Saturday morning we get together and we say the 12 peace prayers, each one taking time and taking turns doing that. And it's so powerful to start off the day that way. If anybody wants to join us, let me know. So, as we go over these 12 religions and their prayers, you can see if you can find similarities in regards to your own faith. I will share the background of each religion, describe the symbol, and then we will all read the short version, which I handed out today for the 2 that we're talking about. So let's start with Judaism. It began about, not yet. It began about 3,700 years ago in Canaan, which now contains the state of Israel, Palestine, and Jordan. Abraham is the father of the Hebrew people. God established his covenant with Moses, who emancipated the enslaved Jewish tribes from Egypt. All of the people of this faith are divided into Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform. The basic source of Jewish belief is the Hebrew Bible, called the Old Testament by Christians. Its first five books are called the Torah, which means law and teaching. They are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The Torah was traditionally regarded as the primary revelation of God and his law to humanity through the spokesperson, Moses, on Mount Sinai. It is considered to this group eternal truth. The goals of Judaism lies in the strict obedience to God, which can alleviate the plight of the individual and society, bringing rewards in this future life when the Messiah will come to overthrow evil and reward the righteous in God's kingdom. The soul thereafter will enjoy God's presence and love forever. Their faith and their path of attainment states that man has two impulses, good and evil. He can either follow God's law or rebel and be influenced by Satan, which caused creation to go away. To follow God's law is the highest morality possible through obedience to the Torah, which pleases God. The religion of the Jews is inseparable from their history as a people, and by far the most profound characteristic of Judaism is the strict monotheism. The Jews hold an unshakable belief in one God, and one God only, called Yahweh, from which all creation flows. One must follow justice, charity, ethics, and honesty in being true to the one true God. Much of the Torah traces the ancestry of Abraham through Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, and finally to Moses, who is the foremost of God's prophets in Hebrew history. Moses gave Judaism the Ten Commandments and established the religious laws and traditions. Jews must observe over 400 laws in addition to the Ten Commandments. Judaism teaches that all people are created in God's image and deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and that there is the one God and Creator rewarding the good and punishing the evil. They also state that upon death the soul goes to heaven or hell if sinful, very similar to Christianity, that one day the Messiah will appear on earth and there will be a day of judgment, and the dead shall physically arise to life everlasting. Some of their beliefs state that no priest shall intervene in the relationship of man and God, nor should God be represented in any form, nor should any being be worshipped in any form, nor should any being be worshipped at all besides the one God of Yahweh. The Jewish people consider themselves to be a chosen people, apart from all other people on the earth, by their covenant with Yahweh. They do not believe that they were chosen for any special privileges, but rather they have the responsibility to bring God's message to humanity by living a good moral life and obeying the laws of the Torah. Individual practices widely observed include dietary laws, laws around marital relationship, daily prayers and study, and the recital of blessings before and after meals. The Sabbath, from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday, is the day of rest, which is a unique gift of God. It is observed by refraining from work, obtaining a synagogue service, and special food. So, we also have the holidays of A-W-E, that feeling of it, called Rosh Hashanah, which is New Year, and Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. So, the symbols. Stand up and look it around. The Star of David, or the Shield of David, is the symbol of Judaism and Israel. The two triangles interlay symbolizing water and fire, representing the reconciliation of opposites, and they form a six-pointed star which represents the 6 tribes of Israel. On the stained glass window, when we had them, the star is surrounded by emerald green and royal blue. The symbol is a striking representation of the rich heritage of Judaism. The single black band at the bottom represents the dark periods of persecution and destruction in their history and honors the survival of the tradition through great peril. Thank you.
You said 6 tribes. I thought there was 12 tribes.
Yeah, I did too.
For the,
5.
the 6-pointed star, well, let me check that out.
12 tribes.
12 tribes? Okay, so they go around twice maybe.
Yeah, that works.
Well, I'll check that out again. Thanks for pointing that out. The other well-known symbol is the 7-branched menorah, which is the creation of the world by God. There's 3 candles on each side and 1 in the middle. So God created the world in 6 days, which are those 3, and rested on the 7th, the one in the middle. So, who wants to tell me what the symbol was that drew it? What does it mean? Anybody remember?
The triangles?
Fire and water.
Fire and water.
Fire and water.
The 6 tribes were 12.
And what?
6 tribes, only there are 12.
Yeah.
6 times 2.
So symbol of the fire and the water come together. It's the shield of David. They represent the opposites that we have in our life. And then they form a 6-pointed star, which represents the 6 or 12 tribes of Israel. So I'm going to, as we do this, we'll have the symbol and the write-up I'm going to put into a 3-ring binder when I get through with all of this. So we'll have one in the church here that anytime you guys want to read it or get connected to it again, you can do that. So in the meantime, all of you should have a little thing that we have for the peace prayer. Let's say the Jewish one together. Does everybody have one? Ready? Oh, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, that we may walk the paths of the Most High, and we will beat our swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks.
Did you start off saying that this is 12,000 years? What were we looking? I think that was your first line.
That I said what?
The very first line, that it was been around for 12,000 years. Did I get that correctly?
It began 3,700 years ago.
37.
Uh-huh. Second one for today is Shintoism. It is the indigenous religious tradition of Japan. Its roots lie deep in the prehistoric religious practices of the Japanese people. However, some believe that Shinto began 2,500 to 3,000 years ago. It has no historical founder. However, each of the 13 ancient sects believes it has its own founder. Shinto does not have any canon of sacred scriptures, although important elements of mythology and cosmology are found in the records of the ancient and the ancient Japanese chronicles. The ritual hymns and prayers called Narito were compiled into written collections at an early date. There are 2 main divisions of Shintoism. One encompasses all 13 ancient sects, which are very similar. The second is known as the state Shinto, which finds its highest expression in the worship of the emperor and loyalty to the state and family. All Japanese participate in Shinto rites, and many of them are also Buddhists. Combination here. Adherents are not a useful category for this religion. The primary goal of Shinto is to achieve a proper relationship called kami, K-A-M-I, with the ancestral beings. The kami is supernatural holy powers living in or connected to the world of spirit. All living things can be kami. The human's nature is the highest, for he possesses the most kami. Their path of attainment is the proper relationship with ancestral beings is achieved in Shinto through observance of all taboos, the avoidance of people and objects that might cause them impurity or pollution. Prayers are made and offerings brought to the temples of gods and goddesses, of which there are said to be a myriad of 800 of them. Man has no supreme God to obey in this religion, but only needs to know how to adjust to karma in its various manifestations. A person's karma or nature survives death, and a man desires to be worthy of being remembered by his descendants. Therefore, each one's fulfillments of duty is an important aspect of Shinto. In the Chinese language, the word Shinto, Shin and Tao, S-H-I-N and T-A-O, signifies the way of the spiritual gods. It is called Kami no Michi in its native Japanese. The Kami are innumerable Japanese deities, full-fledged gods, divine souls of great people. So there's such people as warriors, clans, natural beauty such as woods and trees, and the forces of nature. Shinto shrines are over 100,000 in Japan. Kami are generally worshipped at shrines which are established in their honor. Worshippers will pass under a sacred arch called tori, which helps mark the sacred area of the shrine. They will then purify themselves by washing their hands, rinsing their mouths, approach the shrine itself, make an offering, call upon a deity, and utter a silent prayer. Fresh food, water, and incense are offered daily to the altar. Special times of worship include events like birth, youth, marriage, the new year, advent of spring, and so on. On these occasions, the shrine will be crowded with worshipers, many who have come to have their fortunes told, or to receive special blessings or purifications from the priest. Certain shrines have also taken on national importance. With the establishment of Buddhism between AD 710 and 1185, and this is really interesting information, Shinto came under its influence as well as that of Confucianism and Chinese culture as a whole. On one hand, it became more structured following the Buddhist thought. On the other hand, they came to be thought of as manifestations of certain Buddhist suttas. The two religions both mixed and coexisted at the same time. There is an inward belief in the sacredness of the whole universe and that man can be in tune with this sacredness. The Shinto's ardent love of the motherland has found unique expression in their loyalty and devotion. So some of their beliefs state that the way of the gods, Kami no Machi, asserts nature's sacredness and reveals the supernatural. They believe that there is no single supreme being but a myriad of gods, which are superior beings. They believe that among all the wonders of the universe, they are there but filled with everywhere with sentient life. They believe in spiritual authority of the great books known as the records of ancient masters and collection of 10,000 leaves, which all have ritual hymns and prayers in them. The state is a divine institution whose laws should not be destroyed and to which individuals must sacrifice their needs. They believe in moral and spiritual uprightness as the cornerstone of their religious ethics and the supreme value of loyalty to all. Everything is a divine spirit. One world is one brotherhood, and that all men are capable of affinity with the divine. Therefore, to them, no evil exists in the world. Shintoism believes in the practical use of ceremony and ritual and in the worship of deities that animate nature. So, the symbol is a wooden gate called Tori is the symbol. Shinto is derived from Shinto, which means the way of the gods. So each of these tories stands at the entrance of a Shinto temple. It consists of two posts connected by crossbars. The posts represent pillars that support the sky, and the crossbar symbolizes the earth. So who wants to tell me what it means? See if you're getting it in as I tell you. Anybody?
Crossbar.
Keep going. The crossbar what?
Now I forgot. I'm old.
There are two posts connected by crossbars. The posts represent the pillars that support the sky, and the crossbar symbolizes the earth. Okay? So let's say the Shinto peace prayer together. We earnestly wish that the wind will soon puff away all the clouds hanging over the tops of the mountains. Okay, that's the end of the talk today. Any comments, questions?
Are you